Hey,
Hey,
what's happening,
good morning.
John?
Hey, man. Good morning. How are you, Dave?
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Happy Monday. Had a good fourth weekend, and it's good. How are you?
Yeah. You know, great. We got to chill out a little bit. Went to the lake with the kids this weekend, so it was always good to kind of check out for at least 5 hours.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Right.
agreed. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
John, I think this is absolutely awesome because this really having you on is falling in line with so many of the things that we talk about on this channel. And that is about innovation. It's about doing things differently. We can't keep building and selling in the home building industry the same way we've been doing it for the last 100 years. The consumers don't like it, right? And as builders, we're in the technology world, we're just giving away so much of our stuff in dumpsters because we're not smart enough to figure out how to build better and have less waste. And that also goes on the consumer experience side, which you're really involved in because
That's
there's the
right.
building side, but then we need to sell our products to somebody and they need to have a really good experience and feel good about the product. And then that life cycle should carry through, but that's not traditionally how developers and builders do it. And I think that's kind of what's going to be fun of talking to you because you came from an outside world retail, just like Jennifer, and you look at it and your head wants to explode because how could you guys be so foolish? I mean, this is 20-year-old technology.
Yep,
right?
You're spot on. Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
Sure.
So this is super cool, John. So why don't you give us a little bit about your background?
Sure.
Right. And then we're going to jump into this because I think a lot of people are tuning in.
I'm excited. Yeah. So first and foremost, I really grew up in and around the industry. I've had the privilege of learning all about production home building and community development. Believe it or not, my mother, Kathleen Cecilian, has had a strategic marketing firm for many years, really helping to place, make, and build some of the most beautiful places you could ever imagine. And having a seat at the table as her firstborn, I had a chance to really glean insights into the challenges that plague community developers and home builders every week, all around the customer journey. For myself, I decided to cut my teeth in retail. I went a slightly different route post college and had a chance to work for a variety of different global brands, really understanding what great customer experience looks like, whether it's high fast fashion like Abercrombie and Fitch or very intensive clienteling like Michael Kors, really have a keen understanding of what it means to engage with the customer across every channel. And when I think about what's happening and the challenges that happen in the most important purchase of someone's life in the sense of buying a home, the sort of disconnect of what I've experienced both, from afar and firsthand is remarkable and really looking to solve for that.
Yeah, you know what? I would imagine so because in retail, and I lived it with Jennifer for so many years, it's all about marketing. It's all about branding. It's all about that experience. And that's how you gain market share. 100%, right? And
100%.
and you, if you don't do it, you don't exist. It'd be my guess, right?
That's a fair statement. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's jump in. So here you are. You're coming from the outside world. You're looking to make this change. Tell us a little bit about Cecilian Partners and what it is you guys do, and then we'll dive into it piece by piece.
Sure. Yeah. So we are a team of outside industry experts that have come together to achieve one common goal, and that is transforming customer experience across data, technology, and human capital for production home builders and community developers. It is something that we are all in lockstep trying to do. I have a really remarkable team of people that come all across industry, from strategic marketing to hospitality to digital, and really understand how to engage with today's buyer the right and more modern way. Within that, we have a really remarkable technology that we've called the XO. And the XO is sort of the marriage of experiential data and operational data that gives the home buyer a better experience right up front in the sense of what it is they're looking for and where in the community they want to live. And that is something that we're very much anchored on, and in turn, giving a really strong operational resource to both the home builder and the developer.
Yeah. So, and I think this is absolutely amazing because, trying to transform the builder is one thing, but transforming the customer experience when it comes to shopping for homes in an arena of builders where we're all looked upon as, well, we're out to get you, or it's shoddy, or it's not great, right? Because there's so many horror stories out there. There's not enough qualified training to make establishment. For some states, you don't even have to get licensed. So with that, why? I mean, builders are selling houses all across this country. Developers are building thousands of homes all across this country. Why in the world why should a home builder care about what you're doing?
Great question. I think in my opinion, they should care because the time for change is now. And if they're not investing in technology the right way, meaning if they're not investing in technology that allows them to be smarter about how today's customer is buying, sure, they might have a couple great weeks, they might have a couple great months, but what does their long-term strategy look like? 1 year from now, 3 years from now, what does that look like? We engage with both the big publics on the production home building side, as well as regional builders as well. And they all have the same challenges, which is, where should we invest our dollars? We have limited resource, limited funding. We have all this money tied into marketing. What does that ROI around technology look like? And for us, it's about saying, what does the ROI look like for the print ad that you did in the local newspaper, or the remarkable and beautiful billboards you spent across I-95 or I-4 or every other major highway you decide to use? And the reality is they don't know. There's this sort of habit formation that's happened where year after year after year, we've done the same thing. And the results have been incrementally better, but not necessarily tied to one causal effect. And I think for us, we believe that investing in technology the right way, in our perspective, allows you to really have a better understanding of what conversion looks like, how to really bring in that real one unit or lead into your welcome center, into your model home, and really be able to capture that the right way. Here's a great example. Let me give you a real case example. I will not name the big public, but I will share with you who it is about why home builders care. So about a year ago, I secret shopped a major production home builder across the Northeast in New York State, New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania. And as I secret shopped across all of these single family communities, I recognized that there was sort of this disconnect between the online sales team and what was happening in real time in either the sales center or the model home. And the disconnect is that the builder didn't care to know who I was, meaning I would go through this online sales process where they would collect all this information on me, and then I would go to the actual scheduled appointment, and I was again treated like a stranger. And you have to ask yourself, if you're really investing in sort of a digital way to connect with your customer, what does that look like? And how does that training and how does that technology complement the journey? Conversely, they started to sort of shift into collecting cell phone numbers to then maybe text to engage. Dave, I'm not kidding. A year later, I'm getting text messages today to come back. A year later, text messages today to come back to look at the homes that are still available because of their maybe a national sales event or regional sales event. Right. So imagine the disconnect that's there. It's, are we investing in the right solutions that are getting the ROI that they need for their business to create a sort of consistent customer journey end to end? That's the big question. And that's why home builders should care.
So you're telling me that most of these home builders that are spending $1 million or more a year on these billboards up and down I-95 out west, they really don't know what the ROI is, other than just a brand that's put up there. They really don't know, because I drive down the highway every day, and I have to tell you, I honestly can't remember what billboard's up there.
That's fair. I mean, you have limited time to read the billboard. I mean, I'm sure when that home buying prospect walks into the sales center of the model home, there's certainly that 4x6 note card that collects that information. And in that information, maybe that person hopefully will tick, the billboard's what brought me in. But is that what we want to be famous for? Is that? I mean, at the end of the day, what you want to be able to do is connect with your customer the right way. What does that mean? It means that you want to be able to create avarice for your product and brand by engaging with your customer early and often, and asking the right lifestyle questions and trying to understand why they're coming to your place, whether that's a community or a subdivision, whatever that may be. But of all the choices, and you just mentioned it, Dave, of all the choices that exist across both regional and the big publics, the question gets less about price, probably less about floor plan and elevation, as there's a lot of these kind of duplicate floor plans that exist with modern homes that are being built today. It really is about how you're talked to and how you're engaged with, and what makes it easier for the customer to understand the journey that goes into buying a production home.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this, but right before the show, it's about not getting eliminated, right? It's about giving the customer an experience, because they can easily click from your site to another site.
That's right.
In a heartbeat, right? And whoever's giving them the best online experience is going to win, hands down, as far as having the first opportunity to speak to them.
That's
and
fair.
If I'm hearing you correctly, because this is my soapbox as well, and I love my soapbox.
Yeah.
The whole journey for the customer, we are so busy today. Everybody, attention is the number one asset in this world. Because everybody's reaching in our pockets digitally right now. Everybody's reaching into our phones. Everybody's trying to pay their way to the top of the line so we see what they're selling. Billboards aren't where it's at, in my opinion, for that. And two, if they are looking for you, because when you're buying a house, that's a destination sale. That's when they start looking, when somebody's interested. Not only are you able to now follow and track their journey when they're looking at their product, but what it's allowing you to do is to tailor your conversation to them when you do have that face-to-face meeting, or you do want to send them something, or they request information. You're not sending them a 5-bedroom, 6,000 square foot house, and everything they looked at online is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, right?
That's exactly right. Yep, that's spot on. And I think so. To your point, I mean, I think part of that is curation. It's about really understanding what it is that you're engaging and what kind of questions you're asking. And it sounds so simple, but it's not being done. You walk into either a scheduled or a cold walk-in to a model home or sales center today of any of the big publics, I would argue, depending regionally where you are. This experience is not all negative. I'm not saying that. It's just not modern. And I think that's what's important to understand, is that folks are looking for a modern experience across demographics, right? Because the most simple use case example of how people buy and shop today, regardless of age, is Amazon. Everyone loves the ability to engage on their mobile device and have something shipped to their house in 2 days. Everything that's curated in real time in Amazon is based on your buying history. They kind of know who you are and how you look and what you want to be able to do and engage. All those things make sense. There's parallels there. Now, that is that rapid fire of a series of transactions across the different categories. The question I guess I pose back is, why is it so difficult to really understand what it is that is arguably the most important transaction of someone's life that might happen in their lifetime, maybe 3, maybe 5 times if they have that opportunity to buy this beautiful home? Why don't we know more about that individual early and often? That's the question.
Yeah. So listen, 100%. You look at Amazon alone, just the data that they give, and then they also give you a little video on the product too to really suck you in.
That's right.
The whole thing's there, and I use it all the time.
Sure.
And there's a lot of times, even with Amazon, stuff pops up, and I'm like, buy.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right? Because it's based on what I want. So absolutely love it. Well, let's go on a client journey here. Take us through a client journey. And I also have the website up, Walsh TX. So you let me know when you want me to show that. But can you walk us through a client journey? Because I think it's so important for the builders and developers out there. We could talk about it all day long. I do video because I'm a visual guy. So let's walk through this and let's hear a little bit more.
Yeah, so I think, one of the things first and foremost when we talk about the client journey or customer journey is it really needs to be in the perspective of the actual customer. And I think oftentimes from a marketing perspective, when we're really trying to identify how we think our would-be home buying prospect comes to us, it often is sort of disconnected. It doesn't feel like the parties agree. They're leading marketing together to kind of understand how to build that journey. So one of the things that we have done is really try to predicate technology on starting in a very smart way with how, if you were to move to a new community for whatever reason, school district, job, whatever kind of brings you to this place, that we are curating, I keep using that word, it's important to think about it, keep curating these leads for the builder in an authentic way. So Dave, if you want, you can go to walshtx.com right now, and I can clearly just walk through sort of how simple, again, this is. And I think that's the other narrative I'd like the audience or whoever is watching today to understand, is that it really is about simplicity. It's not about more. And every time we engage with clients or every time we talk to folks across the industry, it feels like more is the answer. And we're trying to say it's not. We want you to sort of stop and understand what makes sense to your business and where you should invest first. And also recognize that marketing and technology are 2 separate categories. They should not be in the same phylum when it comes to looking at the new fiscal 2021 budget. They should be looked at separately. And I can talk about that in a moment. But quickly, go to find your home. So imagine, you're moving to Dallas. You're very excited about coming to Dallas. You want to live in the Dallas Metroplex, and you want to be able to find your home. And today, MLS, Trulia, certainly Zillow don't really provide this kind of level of engagement on the new home side of the equation. It just doesn't. So in this environment, you've identified Walsh Ranch in Texas, the Dallas Metroplex. And here you can clearly see how easy this can be for the would-be home buyer. Now, a couple statistics for the audience this morning, which is important to understand. One, this is such a great tool for the community developer because we've learned that for Walsh and the team at RPG, Republic Property Group, that the average visitor to the site is spending over 3.5 minutes of dwell time going through and kind of interacting with the map in real time. which is important to understand because you're starting to create sort of an excitement about the place, an excitement about the community, an excitement about the amenities and other features that are there, and of course the home buyer and the future home you're going to move into, lot choice, etc. Conversely, 75% of every first-time user to Walsh.tx, right, goes to the map first because they want to understand from an immersion perspective what it is they're moving to, what it looks like, and how it comes together. Now, if you're a home builder building in this ecosystem, you have the ability to then get a lead that's coming to you in a very clear way, right? So this home buyer is now filtered by price, by bedroom, by floor plan or elevation, but really builder. And all of a sudden you can say, wait a sec, John Smith and family chose us, came to us based on the filtered price and filter bedroom count. And the quality of lead that's there is then sent to the builder. So the builder knows a heck of a lot more than just first name, last name, email address. They really foundationally understand what it is that this future home buyer is looking for. Now, Dave, imagine that conversation, right? I work for, let's say David Weekly is an example that's here. And I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling John Smith and family to say, Mr. Smith, great to hear from you. Love that you're looking at Walsh. I see that you're looking for a four bedroom. I see that your price point is X. Recognize that already the lifestyle questions are coming in. The ability to understand the customer is coming in. You've been heard as the customer. Now you're more relaxed as that home buyer. And you can really engage, say, yeah, well, my maximal budget's $500,000. I know that the base price for the house is $380,000, but I really want to do some unique fits and finishes in the design studio. What does $500,000 get me? But you see, for the builder sales rep or the builder rep, they already know what the max is. There's no reason to push more. There's no reason to have that conversation. Authenticity is happening. And that's another kind of great word when you think about customer engagement, customer experience. You're building that authentic sense for the brand. And that's what I think is most important. And you're also saving time, Dave. You're no longer having to go back and forth, Right. So I think it's an important example, a small example, but an important example of sort of the ease of use and the real-time information that you get from using the tool.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at, just like you said, this is pretty interactive. I mean, you go through, I could be at the 300 to 400 range, the 400 to 500 range. It's classifying and collecting the data of what somebody's looking at. Yeah. Right. And if I jumped up to $1 million range from a $300,000 range, you'd probably know I'm just trying to see what $1 million home looks like, because I spent most of my time in the $300,000 to $400,000 range.
Sure. Right. Absolutely.
And I can pick the style of architecture even, which I thought was really, really interesting. And
so that's important, obviously. To your point, I mean, if you understand elevation and you're looking for that as a home buyer and you have a certain aesthetic you want, it's great to be able to have that. Again, the words being used, curated, if that makes sense, to then creating this experience. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is this creates a foundational customer experience for the developer and for the builder, and of course the home buyer, to really be able to sort of be brought through that marketing funnel in a way that is correct. And then also, again, just from an optics perspective, maps are really, really important. The ability to kind of pull back at sort of that 20,000 foot view to actually see sort of cross highways and streets to kind of orient around where it is you'd be moving to in this community, I think is very important as well. And we do that for all of our clients. And it's very important to recognize that is key for the future home buyer.
Well, it is key. And so you're telling me that builders aren't doing this? And I would have thought we would have been to this stage, even with the big players. I mean, this is, to me, just seems like basic.
Table stakes. Yeah. I think that there's plans for many of them to want to think about how to do this and how to do this right. One caveat: I think that some of the larger businesses are really contemplating doing it themselves. And one of the things we try to coach our clients or our partners with is, don't do it yourself. I mean, there's a reason why, we don't build houses. And there's a reason why there's technology companies out there that can help really solve for what it is you're trying to achieve. Because building technology as a whole, hosting that technology is a very expensive proposition. And it's difficult to see that ROI internally. Whereas you could pay a third-party vendor to be able to give you sort of a best-in-class solution that would allow you to get the KPIs and insights that matter to your business. Right.
Well, that brings us into this.
Yeah.
All right. I have a feeling you're going to be sarcastic on this one. What does home building and technology have in common, John?
Nothing, Dave, to be honest with you. And I say that with the utmost respect. I think that, on the production side, what I mean by that is on the product side, there's a lot of technology that goes into building beautiful homes and building them at speed and at scale. But what
Right.
I'm talking about is sort of what many would consider maybe a qualitative KPI, but on the customer engagement piece, on understanding marketing in a real-time way, on being able to create a best-in-class customer experience digitally, I would say right now, no. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to really understand where your investment dollars are going in these technology solutions or whatever it may be there. Here's another great use case example. Salesforce is really the elephant in the room when it comes to CRM, right? For years and years, you had Lasso CRM owned by ECI Software Solutions. And Lasso CRM was sort of the ubiquitous CRM solution for home builders. And in comes Salesforce, who everyone certainly knows. But the caveat with Salesforce is that it's not a plug and play or set it and forget it solution. There is a step process to get Salesforce in and working, either for your series of production home builders and subdivisions throughout the area, or the larger community at large, however that comes together. And then each and every person that's an end user of Salesforce has to be trained and developed and understand the features and functions of using the tool. That's not a quick installation. That's not a quick process. So I think it's about understanding that with every technology investment, there's also a human capital investment, right? So if you really are contemplating identifying world-class software to help your business, you have to also put together, what is that cost for the training and development of my staff? What am I going to get from that? That's the ROI piece of software, because technology and software really are only good as the end user. You can't just buy a magical solution and walk away and think all these things are going to happen. Unfortunately, it's just not a silver bullet. There really is a lot of training that goes into it. And I think that's important to understand.
Well, you know what, to put it in simplified terms for all the builders that are watching us out there, being that I'm an offsite, I see Jerry McCaughey's tuned in as well. Being that Jerry does panelize, there isn't a stick builder or developing builder out there that's going to make a change to offsite without human capital, human investment, and education. Right. It looks simple. It seems easy, but there is definitely a skill to being accurate. There's no changes. We got to think differently. We got to do things differently to get a different result.
To your point, let me give you another kind of great statistic that I think is important. So I'm sure everyone knows who Forrester is. Forrester's been around since 1983. They're one of the largest market research companies when it comes to really understanding technology and technology use case when it comes to your business. And there was a study done over a 10-year period, right during the heart of the global crisis, started in 2007 on this study, all the way through 2017, this 10-year study, trying to say, is CX or customer experience, is that quantitative, or is that just a squishy KPI that feels good? Right. Sure enough, that this research study that was done demonstrates that the total return to shareholders for those that excelled at customer experience, were the best versus the laggards, outperformed their competition by 3x. Fact. So this dynamic of thinking that customer experience, thinking that technology is sort of the vessel or the vehicle to get to customer experience is a nice to have, it's just not true. I mean, it really is more than a nice to have. It is complementary to what you're trying to achieve. It allows you to create an authentic experience. But most importantly, you do get a serious ROI to not only your shareholders, but just revenues. People are engaging in a different way. And I think that's important to understand.
It's funny. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had George Casey on, and we were talking about the McKinsey report. And this was a big focus of our conversation, or a part of it anyhow, about home builders having to up their game in technology, in user experience, not just build it and forget about them. Right. But it starts from the first moment they find you online. Right. You need to be building that customer experience and working it all the way through. So this isn't just you touting it. There's people that are sitting at the top of the totem pole here, if I can say that, talking about, this has to happen. The change is coming and people are doing it. You need to be on it. And if you're going to try and figure it out yourself, I think that's mistake number one. I think that's how it is with us in our industry with offsite. I think you need it. My grandfather always said, and excuse my French, you can either go to school and pay for an education, or you get your ass handed to you. Either way, you're paying for that education.
That's fair.
You get there a lot faster if you have somebody teach you.
That's true. I totally agree with that sentiment completely. And, I do think that, there's been enough trial and error over the last 5 years when it comes to understanding CX and the adaptation of technology. I think the time is now. I mean, I do think, and I say this, respectfully with regards to COVID, I think the silver lining with COVID and what's kind of happened is now more than ever, home builders and developers are trying to find digital ways to connect with their customer in real time.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to the model home, or they don't have to go to the sales center, info center. They really need to find a way to connect and connect the right way. Another quick statistic as we go into the next subject here is that we have a client in Florida, in the Sarasota area, all of last month, I believe close to 90, call it 95%, within 90 to 100%. The exact statistic is high. Homes were bought sight unseen.
That's amazing, right?
The behavioral change is happening on the customer, right? So if we're not meeting the customer's need as the customer is asking, we are going to miss them every time. And that's where I'm trying to push. And that's where my passion comes, is people are asking for it week in and week out. Are we there to meet it? That's the question.
Right. Well, and if they work with you.
Hopefully, yeah, we can help them. We can help them tremendously.
For sure. Yeah. All right. So listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, John, we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a lot of people that have been coming and going and joining in the conversation. So we're going to get to some of that here in a second and do a couple quick shout outs. Jen, can we do a couple quick shout outs? Let me pull up here. Let's go in and do a few so we can catch up a little bit.
Sounds good.
Let's see. So we got George Ryman joining us. George says site amenities and location are important factors to consider when purchasing a new house. So very true.
Agreed.
We have Deborah Wyatt. George Ryman, absolutely. So this is the whole conversation you'll see that happens behind the scenes. Yeah. It's all able to, how to highlight the community to the customers in a way that are personal to them, which enhances their experience.
Yeah.
Then we got good old Jerry McCahey. Good morning from California, Jerry.
Good morning, Jerry.
I have a feeling this next person you may know.
Okay. Oh, hi, Jerry. Hi, Mom. Nice. Good.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's awesome. So let's see. We got Cash Flow Chris watching from Phoenix, Arizona. What's happening, Chris? Thanks for tuning in. All right, Jennifer. Do we have any questions coming in? Let's put a question up. Do building material suppliers have a place in guiding the home buyer through this customer buying journey? I am thinking in terms of co-marketing, lifestyle, fit, feel, finish, safety, and security, etc. I think it's Adger. I think I said that right, Coley. Thank you, Adger.
Awesome. That's a great question. I would say yes. I think that one of the most important parts of the journey of buying a production home is in the design studio. And what happens, that's also where upsell happens. That's where margin dollars can be recaptured. And I think one of the things you have to really think about is where in that staged process, after the home buyer has identified their floor plan and elevation, they know exactly where they want to go. They want to move into the Keswick style home. Then they start to go into the process of identifying what things they want. To your question, where in there can we start to think about other sort of features and functions of the home to really productize the experience, to then also increase the cost of the home in a way that would meet their budget, but also create a sense of really great value, I think is important. As we all know, many builders put the home buyer and family or spouse or partner through sort of this 4 to 8 hour journey of being able to identify every fit and finish in the home. Wouldn't it be great if it was more of a staged process and you weren't sitting in front of the design studio for 6 to 8 hours going from, okay, my base price is $480. Oh my God, it's going to be $700,000 because I want the Palladium kitchen. I want the final finishes in the master bathroom. I want the tray ceiling in the master bedroom. I want the finished basement, etc. Wouldn't that be great if it was more of a step process? And I think to that question, yes, that would be complimentary there as well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's the experience, right? Let me just put this up, kind of made it on the fly, experiential and operational. We were talking earlier too, like why can Tesla sell $100,000 plus cars online, never even talk to a customer all the way through, or Apple buy online all the way through, Amazon, that whole experience.
Yeah.
But yet the largest purchase in somebody's life, like you said, you're lucky if you do it 2 or 3 times, let alone 4.
Sure.
But for a lot of people, it's the biggest investment ever in their life. Yep. Why are we not giving this to them? Why aren't we treating them like they are important? Because they are.
And I want to be careful, right? I mean, I want to say to you that I think that there are home builders that do it really well. I have some ideas of best in class that understand what it means to put the customer first. I think what happens is sometimes we are in environments where sort of the larger production builders are really held accountable to unit sales and margin dollars and all those things. And if they're having great months, they're having great months. So it's hard to understand maybe the why behind it. And I guess, my hope is that we begin to have a behavioral shift because the customer's change is happening. And if you think about what's happening already, there's plenty of publications talking about with the advent of COVID in major cities, now cross demographics are coming back, into sort of more inland, right, into the proper suburbs, some of these major metropolitan areas. What does that mean for, larger communities or small subdivisions, and how are we engaging with them differently? Everyone wants to have that best in class experience, no matter what it is, frankly. But I think this category, we have so much opportunity to really just do it and do it the right way. And I think everyone knows how. It's about unlocking it the right way and focusing on the experiential side to get that operational gain.
Well, in that operational gain, and correct me if I'm wrong, data is very important to these builders, and trends are very important to these builders, so they don't build an outdated community. I would imagine everything you're doing increases their opportunity to be more successful on the next community because they're collecting this data on what the buyers are doing and their age, their demographic, the style of home, ... And that's kind of
100%. There's certainly, certainly psychographic profiling and demographics have been done for years to kind of create lookalike sort of customer ethos, if you will, to understand how it is you're engaging with that future home buyer, right? There could be some things that are very similar, and it's important. A quick aside on that when I think about in the retail world. So, in 2010, 2011, the concept of CX or customer experience really came to life for retail because this was about 3 or 4 years after the iPhone came to life, and this concept of multi-channel or omni-channel retail commerce came to life, where I want to have the same experience online as I do in a brick and mortar capacity as I do in my mobile device. And some of the kind of, I would say, larger retailers like a Nordstrom or a Nike created, best in class user applications for their phones that allow you to kind of buy and engage the right way. But what was happening is it was creating disparate data, meaning the John Smith who shops online, is that the same John Smith who shops in store, who shops on the mobile device? So now all these chief marketing officers that have all this data have duplicate information, and that creates incredible incorrect sort of forecasts when it comes to understanding what's in your database and how you put together cost centers to market to that database. I don't want that to happen here in real estate, right? For the first time now, 10 years later, we are adopting all these acronyms, UX for user experience or CX for customer experience, and there's all these different key terms. It's important to slow it down and invest in the right applications first, so you can make sure that your marketing side of the equation is aligned with your technology side of the equation. And that's what we continue to discuss. But I think it's sort of cheeky here on this item number 4, because we do talk a lot about acronyms. And the problem with technologists is that they talk in acronyms all the time. And sometimes you lose the audience that way. So I think it's within that journey what matters. Prop tech is this sort of big term now, which is an abbreviation for property technology or real estate technology. But prop tech, just so you know, is one of the fastest growing categories on the venture fund side over the last 7 years. Over $16 billion was invested in early stage prop tech companies at the end of last year. It's incredible what's happening. And that's over a 20x growth multiple since 2012. So I'm saying this dynamic of, if you follow where the money goes to understand where people care, property technology affects residential real estate, venture money is putting billions of dollars into it. So the change is really here. It's not conjecture. I think it's important to understand that.
Yeah, but I think people can feel the change. I even watch the comments. I mean, it's kind of funny. If I were to ask everybody that's tuning in, or if you tune in and watch this later, do builders do a good job or a bad job? Just write good or bad in the comments. I'd love to know. Even in our own community of building. Right. Even in our own community of building, now's the time for change. But you're absolutely right. I live on my phone. Everybody lives on their phone anymore, their iPad or their laptop. And we're socially connected more today than we ever have.
100%.
And I think from a buying perspective as well, again, it all comes back to user experience in my time. If it takes me too long to figure out how to purchase something from you, I just don't have the time for that. Right. That's kind of what's happening today.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. For sure. All right. So growth mindset, tech mindset. Let's talk about this. Why legacy builders should embrace tech with confidence.
So one of the conversations that we've been having as of late, especially with some of our clients today, or client prospects, if you want to call them that, is understanding that there really isn't a formal technology budget. right? So it's, okay, so I've invested X amount of dollars for this upcoming year that'll be associated with all things marketing. Is there a slant from that marketing budget that can go into technology? And we believe that the link is tech and growth go together. Marketing, you're always going to do. Marketing is a cost center. Technology is not a cost center. And I think that's what's important to understand. You should be able to see an immediate and lasting ROI with the right technology investments for your business. And I think that we really want legacy builders to embrace this with confidence, because well, here's what happens. I keep using John Smith. Let's use Mary Smith. So Mary Smith, is your chief marketing officer, and she's been with this company for 25 years, cut her teeth at the Welcome Center and worked all the way up. And now she knows everything there is to know about this specific builder and how it comes together. But now Mary has been charged with working on sort of digital marketing and building a website, building other things. So now all these things tech are thrown on Mary. And at the end of the day, Dave, that's not fair to Mary, right? We're not investing in the right people to surround Mary the right way, so Mary can focus on marketing, and we can then embrace what technology does for our business on the other side. Do they go together? Sure, a little bit. But at the end of the day, technology investment is very different than marketing investment, just to be clear.
Right. But they have to collaborate to some extent, yes?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they have to collaborate, but that doesn't mean that they take each other's budgets, if that makes sense, right? My point is, still do the great ad in the local newspaper or the national newspaper, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest in a really remarkable CRM solution or a marketing automation solution or a data management platform, is what I'm trying to say. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think that's where I'm trying to get to. So maybe tone down some of the print ad and billboard work to then put it into the technology side so you can see that ROI. I think that's very important.
That's super important. I'm going to tell you right now, I have not picked up a newspaper unless it was at my dad's house, who's in his 80s, to hand it to him. I mean, that's really the truth. I'm not.
But if I were to give you the New York Times today, or even some of the local Palm Beach Post, you'll see plenty of advertisements. And I'm not talking active adult. I'm talking multifamily, single family for rent. They're all there. So I hear you and I agree with you, but it's still there. I mean, you can still find them.
Yeah, for sure. So we had a funny comment that we were going to put up. George.
Nice. Sure. George, I can get you an acronym cheat sheet in ACS. No problem. My pleasure. That's great.
George is never short for comments and
I like that.
brains. He's one smart guy. Love it.
Love it. That's great.
Okay. Jen said we have another question. Let's do another question here before we move on. Aha! Mom's here. All right. I'm going to read this one out loud because we are in 3 locations. So I think there are not more questions because people don't know where to begin. How does a builder or developer start this improvement journey? Great question, Kathleen. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So thanks, Casey. Thanks, Mom. So what I will say simply is it starts with your people. And I know that sounds like a loaded answer, but it really begins with, 2021 is around the bend. What are we doing here in Q3 to identify and hire and train the right people to understand how those individuals can make a difference for my business technologically around the customer journey, right? Do I understand on the sales side of the equation the kind of experience I want to provide as a brand? And am I training and developing those individuals to be able to provide that service? Also, are they being trained with what technology matters, whether it's a CRM solution, whether it's a automated marketing solution? And that goes from the top down. So I do think that it's more than just the individual that has their license of being able to have the fiduciary obligation and the license to sell real estate in the state of choice. It really is about understanding that you're providing a certain level of experience, and training is an everyday occurrence. If you work for a company like Four Seasons or Disney or Hilton or Michael Kors or Armani or any of these brands that are both high and low and experiential, training is an everyday dynamic. It's not just about going to a offsite training once a quarter. Every day, that builder manager needs to have a conversation to say, how are you engaging with your customers today? What does that look like? What is the new brand standard of how we operate? Mm-hmm. How are you testing that? How are you secret shopping them? It really is a practice thing, honest to goodness, Dave. And I know it sounds like, I wish there was more of a magical or a silver bullet answer there. There just isn't. It really is hard work. You got to be willing to get your, hands dirty and really be willing to understand the training matters and how you engage with those folks matter.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anything new is hard, right? You got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
let's really get into what Kathleen asked. So here I am. I'm a production builder or a small to mid-sized builder, and I want to do this. What is step number one for me in my organization to get you on the phone and say, all right, walk me through how we're going to better my client's journey, and you're going to help me collect more data, which is going to help me sell more homes. Because John, if I'm not selling more homes, what does it matter?
You're right. It doesn't matter. So where I'll start with that simply is I think the investment should be really on the online sales team more and more. And I'll start with the big publics because I know they're actively doing it. I think how the online sales team is being managed and trained today matters. I think that the baton pass, right, the virtual handoff of the online sales team to the experience of the actual on-site visit for the home buyer needs to be perfected. Because today, the experiences that I've had personally, talking to other folks across the country, they're the same inconsistent experience where going from online to real time is a complete disconnect. I shouldn't have to fill out multiple surveys as a customer. Why is it when I come to you the first time, you're asking for information that's never not used again? And then I have to fill out another 4x6 information card when I get on site. And that could be across every builder. Why in a large master plan community, if I've got 10 builders, I have to go to each model home as the home buyer and fill out an individual card for each home builder? That just doesn't make sense. It's inefficient, it's wasteful, and you're not creating sort of a sense of authenticity for the customer. So the question I guess I pose back is, where can we start in the sense of training, developing of our staff and team? And this is something that we do here at Cecilian Partners, around thinking differently about how to engage with your customer in a modern way and make sure the training between online and brick and mortar is in fact correct. And that is, when I say correct to the brand. Because the disconnect, Dave, I can give you dozens of examples around some wild experiences I've had where you walk into a model home unannounced, if that makes sense, and they're not ready for you. It's like, oh my gosh, why are you here today? And I think it's all about rethinking right, sort of what the brick and mortar experience is, and really bringing that sort of retail thinking to front and center.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's funny. One of the things that we're getting ready to do in these model centers is go live.
Yeah.
Bring the experience to the customer.
Yes.
Bring them into the equation. Let them ask questions in real time in your community and your models.
Love that. Yeah.
People don't want to travel. They don't want to take the time, and you have a much better chance of capturing their imagination this way. So I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible, amazing. And I think you're going to have a lot of success in this for sure. There's no way, you have to be.
Yeah. Well, it's real. I mean, Dave, honestly, my team and myself, we are charged about wanting to solve for this. And we believe that the dynamic of buying a home should be taken very seriously. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying there are other experiences that would argue that it feels transactional, and it should never feel transactional, to be clear.
It shouldn't feel, it should feel good.
Yeah. Agreed.
It should feel good when you spend that much money. It's like making a good trade in the market and you make money.
100%. Absolutely.
It should feel good. All right, Jen, should we get some more comments going?
Looks like there's a couple questions coming in.
Here we go. We got Jerry up here. Interesting. We are now having some of our customers help them market the technology. I can't speak today. Technology we use to build the houses as a selling feature due to our precision, quality, sustainability, and use of high level of technology from 3D modeling to CNC manufacturing. And I know Jerry uses the best lumber he can get his hands on.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. On the product side, it's been solved for. As you know, George and I talk about this a lot. I think that same effort that's done on the product side of the equation needs to be brought to what many think are qualitative, but not, again, to the technology bucket, marketing bucket, and human capital training component. I say human capital, I know that might be sort of a different term for the category, but it really is your people. Your people are your brand, and that is too often forgotten. The reason why people have great experiences at Disney World and Apple is because of how those folks are trained every day. It is not like you go to training and start on the floor or start in the park or start in the resort. It really is about daily training like anything else. And I think that for some reason that gets lost from time to time. So the amount of effort, money, research that's done on the 3D modeling, on the productization of fabrication and all that stuff, that same thinking can be brought to this side of the equation.
Yeah, Disney is a great example because I always say to people, it's like, when you go to Disneyland and the ride, it says 30 minutes. And you
Yeah.
get in that line, you're like, 30 minutes. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're through it in like 12 and a half.
Yep. Yep.
They're
Feels
setting the
good.
expectations for you to be satisfied and happy.
Yep.
And that's just a simple example of that.
Yeah. Under promise, over deliver. That's a great mantra to have. Yeah.
All right. So we have another question. Let's put it up. Philip Worland. Hey, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Can you talk about what it means to curate choices and how that related to knowing your customer versus an inventory mindset?
Yeah. So I think one of the things we've learned about our client in Dallas and other markets, Colorado and a couple other markets to kind of talk about, is recognizing sort of the lifestyle questions you ask up front allows you to sort of really know what the customer wants. So maybe you're limited to floor plans and elevations, let's say elevations or colors based on the community at large. I think it's important to recognize that if you are asking the right lifestyle questions, you can direct, when I say curation, you're directing that customer to what it is you've heard and understood what they're looking for. They want neo-traditional design. They want a front porch. They want to be close to the curb.